Enchash, Nanaktushan Kushan, Ukan, and Uhumilch. Hi, my name is Tanina. I'm from the Wat Nation, and I'm going to be telling the story about the two sisters and the little people. And this is a story that was inspired by my mom and her sister, and because of their characteristics. They both have an expression like they're up to something. And this is especially my auntie Tinan. She always looks like she's really thinking about something interesting to do, and I just can imagine what it's like for when they were little girls and playing together and adventuring together, and so I dedicate this story to them. And so it starts off in this story that these two girls were getting ready to go to a gathering. And this gathering was something that happened every year, and they were really excited about it. They knew that there was going to be many people there, and so they got ready early to leave. And they, of course, their parents were getting ready, getting plates ready to bring to this big potluck, and also bringing food as well. And so they arrive early at the dinner, and they're so excited, and they've got these, this twinkle in their eyes, and they're enjoying seeing the people. And their parents arrive, and everybody settles down, and somebody opens up in a prayer and a song, and they all eat, and they have a really good time, and they're visiting with everybody, and they start to hand drum, and everybody's dancing and having an amazing time. And then as things start to settle down, they start to share stories, and somebody says, "Oh, gee, these last few days I've been misplacing things. I look and I look and I look and I find them in strange places." And everybody starts to murmur, "Oh, it's the little people, it's the little people." And they're like, "The little people? This sounds interesting." So they settle down and they start to listen to the many stories that people have of the little people. And there's a few rules around these stories that they keep hearing, the similar things like they're tricksters, they like to steal things, especially shiny things or things that are important to you, and hide them, and they like to tickle your toes when you're sleeping, but one of the real serious things about them is that you're never allowed to know where they live. Where they live is a secret. And if you find out where they live, they could decide to keep you. And so, but you know what? These two girls, they get it in their head. They want to see a little people village. They want to see what it's all about. And so they start to think about this. And they go home and they're thinking and thinking, we need more information. How could we get more information about the little people? Then they think, oh, I know, we could make chocolate chip cookies. And we could go visit elders with these nice warm cookies, and we could have tea. And I know for sure that when I eat warm chocolate chip cookies, I just share lots of things. I think that would work. So they get up the next day and they make chocolate chip cookies, and they put them on a plate, and they put a nice warm towel over them, and they go to the first elder they decide to visit. And they knock on the door. "Oh, hello, who's there?" "Oh, it's us. We brought you some chocolate chip cookies." "Oh, okay." So they get invited in, and they go to sit down, and this old lady, this old elder, she gets some tea ready, and she comes in and she's got honey and sugar and cream, and they pour tea and they have cookies, and she's like, "Oh, so what are you up to today?" "Well, we just thought we'd come and visit you and ask you about the little people." So she starts to share the stories that she knows, and they hear all the same information that they already knew about. And they said, "Well, we actually want to know something about where they live." "Oh no, you are not allowed to know where they live, because if you go and visit them, they could decide to keep you." "Oh yeah, we know that, but we're not worried about that. We really want to see a little people village." "Well, I don't know anything about that." And so they finish their tea and then they go home, and they have time to make more cookies. So they make more cookies and they go visit another elder, and the same thing. "Oh no, I don't know where they live. All I know is what I know, and you shouldn't want to go and visit them because they could keep you." So day after day, they are making these beautiful cookies and visiting the elders. And of course, the elders are talking about it. And so they all know that they're coming around. And finally, one day, they go to this elderly man's house. And they have their cookies. And he says, "I might know somebody. Do you know the elderly lady that lives closest to the forest and her house is always dark?" "Oh, yes, we do. We've walked by her place before." "Oh, well, I think she may have been to a little people village." "Really?" Oh, so they get really interested. So they visit and they have a really great time, and they finish their tea and they go home and they make a new fresh batch of warm chocolate chip cookies, and they put it in on a plate and put a nice cloth over top, and they start to walk towards this elderly lady's house. And sure enough, her house is all dark, and there's funny things hanging from her ceiling. And they're not sure if they really want to do this. And they get closer and closer. And as they get closer, they're walking slower and slower. And finally they get there and they look at each other and they knock. Oh, she's not going to hear that. Still, she doesn't hear them. So finally they get really brave. "Oh, who's there? What do you want?" "Oh, we brought you some chocolate chip cookies. We'd like to visit with you." She goes in, she opens the door, she looks at them, and she sees their plate of cookies, and she walks away. And she goes into the back room, and they think, "Oh, that must be her kitchen." And so they step in, and sure enough, her place is really dark. And sure enough, there's things hanging from her ceiling. They can't tell what they are. And they see a table, so they go and sit down because they think that they're invited. So they go to sit down, and sure enough, they hear some banging, and they hear a stove go on, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And there's some more banging, and then all of a sudden they hear the kettle make that loud sound, and then all of a sudden she comes in, she plops her tray down. "So what do you want? What do you want to know?" "Oh, well, we just thought we'd come and visit you and see how you're doing and share some cookies with you." And of course, she already knows why they're coming to visit. She's just knows that all the children are afraid of her. And so she pours them some tea, and she gets honey, and she puts honey in her tea, and she's sitting there, and she settles down, and the girls they take the towel off the cookies, and she grabs the cookie and she starts to eat the cookie, and oh, this is really lovely. These are really nice cookies. So what would you like to know about? And she says, well, the one little girl, she says, well, we would like to know about the little people. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, you know, I've been to a little people village. Yeah, it was very amazing. I loved it very much, and they taught me many things. But I promised I would never tell anybody where they lived. And they're like, oh, okay. So they continued to eat cookies, and while they were eating cookies, one of the girls got brave enough and said, so what is it that's hanging from your ceiling in the living room? Oh, okay. So they go into the living room, and she turns the lights on, and there's all these different kinds of plants in there. And these plants, they know what these plants are. And she says, well, I collect plants. I make medicines out of them for people when they're not feeling well. And so she talks about them, and she says, oh, this is red flowering currant. This comes out in the spring. Oh, this is yarrow. Yarrow is really good for mosquito bites. And, oh, sorry, I forgot. Red flowering currant is a really good antihistamine. So if you're feeling like you've got, swelling eyes and a sniffling nose in the spring, it might mean that you need this plant. And then there's also plantain. Plantain grows everywhere, and it's really good for topical things like mosquito bites and bee stings and acne. Like I have some acne. And then there's stinging nettle grows really well. Do you know that stinging nettle, you can make fiber out of it, and that's how we made our fishing nets. It's really quite amazing. And then there's, let's see what other dandelions are coming out. Dandelions are not traditional to this area, but they came over during the Mayflower, and they are good for every major organ in your body. So they're really good for everything. And they're also good for warts. When you open up the stem and there's a little silky, creamy stuff in, you just put that on top of your wart and let it sit there, and that'll really help. And then fireweed grows really well here, and that's good for sunburns. And that's the same thing. You open up the stem, and there's this creamy stuff in there, and you just put that jelly stuff in there, and you just put that on your skin if you get some sunburns. And it's like our aloe vera. And so there's many things that they learned, many, many, many plants. And so, but those are the earliest ones that come out. So she's really excited to teach them, and they thought for sure they would like to come back. And so they went back and finished their tea and had some more cookies. And she said, when I went to the Little People Village, it was quite an accident, actually. I was just learning to collect plants, and I was so excited about learning all these things about plants that I was gathering them, and I got really deep into onto this mountain, and it was such a beautiful day, and I lost track of time, and I came up upon this creek, and there was a big rock, and it looks really funny. And beside it is this tree that stretches really tall, but it looked like a lightning had hit it. So the branch actually fell over, and this part had died. And so I stayed there all night, and I built a tiny little fire. And when the sun came up over the mountains and shone on the creek that I was next to, it revealed the Little People Village. And I got to see their village. And it was quite amazing. They showed me how to get home after I promised I would never tell anybody where they lived or how I got there. But you know what? I never actually knew how I got there. And I actually don't really know the direction. But I do remember what it looked like there. And the girls got this twinkle in their eye. And they looked at each other, because you know what? They're explorers. and they love to explore in the mountains. And so they knew exactly where this place was. So they finished their tea and they thanked her for teaching them many things, and they're really excited about it, and that they promised to visit her again and to help her pick plants for the people. So they went home and they baked another batch of cookies, and they let them cool, and they put them in a big Tupperware container, and they put it in their backpack, and they went to bed really early so that they would wake up really, really early. And they realized there was a few things that they needed to follow in order to find the little people village. So they woke up super, super early, and they changed into their clothes, and they put their boots on and their warm coat on and their hat and their gloves, and they started to walk to this place. And they walked and walked, and it was still dark out. And they walked and walked and walked and walked. And sure enough, they bumped into the creek, and they followed that up and up and up. And sure enough, they saw this funny looking rock, and the tree that had been hit with lightning. And just as they reached there, the sun started to peek over the mountain and hit the creek, and it revealed the little people village. And they couldn't believe their eyes. They had homes, and they were already busy. They were tending their gardens. Some were going fishing. Some were fixing fishing nets. Some were playing in the yards. And some were picking berries. And they were just being busy. And it looked just like their village. And they were so amazed they couldn't stop staring. Their eyes were actually really big with surprise. And then all of a sudden, one of the little people could feel like he's being watched. So he stood up and he turned around and he saw them, and he ran up to them and he said, "You know, we could keep you if you know where we live. We know, but we just really wanted to meet you." And he ran away. And he came back and he brought the chief. And the chief said, "Why are you here?" "Well, we were really curious and we really wanted to meet you and see what you were all about. And we see now that you are no different than we are. You have your homes and you're busy, and you have elders and you have parents and children and aunties and uncles, and you guys look busy like you're gathering and preparing for the cold winter like we do. And we brought some hot chocolate chip cookies." "What are chocolate chip cookies?" "Oh, you'll just love them." So they pulled their big container out, and the cookies were so big because these are all little people. So they put them into small pieces, and they prepared tea, and they all sat down and they talked about things, and they visited, and the girls learned many things, and they had many, many, many questions. And they all enjoyed the chocolate chip cookies. And then at the end of their visit, the chief said, "Do you understand why we keep our home a secret?" "Yes, we do, because you're so special. And we just would never want anybody to hurt you. And we promise we will never, ever tell anybody where you lived." And the lady that told us where you lived, she actually didn't tell us how to find you. But we've explored everywhere, and we knew where this special place was. So she didn't reveal your secret. And we know it's important to keep secrets when it is to keep you safe. And sometimes there's secrets that we need to tell adults, secrets that are hurting others. So we know the difference between those kinds of secrets. So yes, we promise we will never tell anybody where you live. And they went home, and they shared these wonderful memories, and the little people often visited them but never revealed themselves to them ever again. And to this day, we just are happy to know that they are in our lives to create havoc, have to create some fun and things to share together to connect us. Thank you so much. Bye.